Well, it's Friday, May 22nd. Boys are back. No Rooster Goose this week. Get to Yes the podcast. Got Austin and Ryan kind of holding down the fort. NFL offseason. Got a bunch of NFL stuff to talk about this week. A couple bets we're going to throw out. Had the season schedules get locked in last week. So that's pretty big time of the year for me. It's actually when I probably do most of my betting volume, believe it or not.
I did not know that, dude.
At least for off season. So we'll dig into that a little bit. We'll talk a little PGA. Got a couple NFL stories. Should be a tight little show here. We're going to try to get in and out in about, 30, 40 minutes.
Nice.
See what happens.
Let's do it.
So I think, Austin, where I want to start is just general NFL stories. I think the first place is a mea culpa. You know, I kind of gave Aaron Rodgers a swan song leaving, and now he's back. So
you did. You kind of had a few teary
egg on my
moments at the
face.
end of last. Yeah, truly. Wasn't quite as cold of a take as saying that Harbaugh was never going to leave Baltimore, but you never know. You never know what happens after we get this podcast air.
I mean, look, the Ravens room, I think it's going to be a disaster this year. So I stand by my take on that situation. But yeah, I mean, more so, obviously, McCarthy is taking over the reins for head coach there. Rodgers coming back. Got to think this is the last time he's going to do it. They upped the deal to, I think he's getting guaranteed like 20-ish, maybe 25, with escalators up to 30. Don't really understand how this could have been about the money for him. Guys made probably $250 million over the past 20 years. So I think, the reason I like that is it gives some stability to a team that I bet they're over on. So Steelers, still like them in the division, not to win the division, but I think that they are still going to be in a good spot with what I see as to be a pretty weak division overall. I think that you got the Ravens that are going to regress pretty heavily with Harbaugh leaving, and I think that the Browns clown show with Deshaun Watson potentially starting over Shador is a good spot. Bengals should win that division, but Steelers are going to win 9 games and probably make the playoffs. So I think it's largely a good thing for them. It'll be interesting seeing McCarthy back with A-Rod on the side. Feel like they, what people kind of forget there is they really had a blow up when he left Green Bay. I mean, Aaron wanted him out. So we've kind of mind-hold that.
Yeah,
but
people forget.
Back together.
People don't forget. Hey,
I don't know.
I love it. I'm back. I'm back.
Be a little bit odd. Rashee Rice in jail, smoked weed on his parole, so he is going to jail. They said they did a cleanup on his, I think it was shoulder or knee or something that was gonna maybe happen anyway, and they rushed to do it before he gets thrown back in jail, which is pretty epic. Like, you got to be in here for 30 days and you got a 60-day recovery.
That's why he did it. He got framed by the Chiefs medical team, so he would actually stay in one place for 30 days and actually heal his.
Dude, if I'm the Chiefs, I don't understand why you're keeping this guy on the roster. It seems like a distraction. Dude. He's not. I mean, he's a good receiver.
Not that good. He's not that good though. He's
a B plus B.
He is, dude.
Receiver.
He's not like a speedster guy. He's not like a game breaker. He was like the number one option when they had nobody and were decimated, but he's not some guy that you're like, oh man, let's deal with a bunch of headaches every single offseason to get what would be a wide receiver 3 on a third of the teams in the NFL. So
yeah,
I think
I know
he's blowing it, dude. He is absolutely blowing it. Literally blowing smoke, blowing his chances at the NFL.
Literally blowing all of it.
He's blowing all of it.
But it sounds like they're going to keep him on. If this was a Bill Belichick coach team, that guy would be cut immediately. So they would be.
I don't get it, dude.
On.
I mean, I was telling you earlier, I saw him play a couple games at SMU where my brother is a wide receiver over there. I'm curious to go back and look at his scouting notes coming out of college. He was I don't recall any of the character issues stuff being in his file when he was getting drafted. So it just seems like one of these guys that just cannot really handle this. Maybe it's the money. Maybe it's he feels like he's just making so many dumb self-inflicted problems. That's kind of what gets you cut. And if he gets cut, I really don't see him being good enough for some other team to pick him up. He's not like, who's our boy for the Browns? That was Gordon. Remember Josh Gordon? Like, Josh Gordon today Like back then, he was, one of the top 3 receivers in the NFL. If he was
Yeah.
playing in today's NFL, I don't think all of his issues would have been an issue for being on the field. That's a guy that you're like, okay, he's got, he can't stop smoking weed, but he's so good that he keeps getting a shot. I don't think Rice isn't that kind of a player.
It just feels like every single year the Chiefs have something on the sidelines that is a distraction. And for as good as they are as an organization, it feels very odd to me that they let this happen. I think they do a good job of not talking about it a lot, and maybe they figured out how internally to not make it a distraction for the guys. We're in OTAs right now, but I don't know, man. I mean, it's wild how they've been so successful despite distraction every single year. I mean, whether it was the Andy Reid's son, car crash incident, whether it was the Tyreek, getting
Tyreek,
arrested.
yeah.
I mean, you name it.
Taylor Swift,
which different type of distraction, but
Yeah.
I don't know, man, it's pretty nuts. And then I think, last thing on just news, and then we'll kind of talk about the season coming up is Jacoby Brissett.
This is insane. This is insane to me, Ryan. I
think this is fake news.
Who in the Daniel Jones does Jacoby Brissett think he is, dude? You know what I mean?
So there's a report that
nuts.
Jacoby Brissett, obviously, since Rodgers got signed by the Steelers, there was this rumor that was floating out the past couple of weeks. We've been dark for the past couple of weeks, but that Rodgers was, he wore the Cardinals hoodie out for public pictures.
Yeah.
And, there was rumors, he could go there. The reality is he signed with the Steelers last week, so that's out. Jacoby Brissett is the presumed starter. Brissett is set to make only a guaranteed $1.5 million this year, all the way up to, I think it's about $9 million. So, he's on the bottom of the payroll as far as even a backup.
Yeah, totally.
Right. But the rumor is that he is holding out right now, to be clear. He's not at OTAs. And the rumor was that he wants a $250 million contract. I think that that's just a fake news story.
Get the fuck out of here. What in the world is he talking about?
I mean, if I'm the Cardinals, what do I do here? This is a lost season for them. I think you pay him, I don't know, pay him $20 million a year, right? Maybe it's a base guarantee of 8 to 10 and then give some incentives up to 20. I think that's a reasonable deal.
Maybe. Heavy incentive deal, dude.
I mean, he went 1-10 as a starter for them last year.
He's not good, dude. This is insane. This is an insane whole thing of sometimes I'm on the other side of for a while, I was like, quarterbacks probably earn some of this money. The pendulum for the last couple of years, I've been like, this market is insane. It's hurting these clubs. And this ask from Brissett is just a case in point of how ridiculous. I got to imagine this is probably 80% his agent. That's like, hey man, look at Daniel Jones. That guy sucks too. He got a bag. You get a bag. Like Kirk Cousins is getting paid what he's getting paid to be a mentor next year. Like you can kind of see how they rationalize it and get them all excited about it. And you're going to hold out. And who else do they got? But dude, Jacoby Brissett is maybe top 60 quarterbacks in the NFL. There are a lot of other guys playing backup that would be happy to take that slot and are wins above replacement, just as good, if not better. Brissett had some good moments when he backed up in New England, and he's been serviceable, but he is not that guy, dude. And he's a
backup quarterback. He's a middle of the road backup quarterback.
He's not even an elite backup quarterback. And for you to get your shot, this is what's crazy to me, man. You see these guys, and you look at even a deal like Baker Mayfield. Some of these guys that, Baker Mayfield was a number 1 overall pick, right? Franchise guys are coming in and saying they're being humble enough to go on a prove it deal. You know what I mean? Talk about Sam Darnold, dude. There is something about, and we talked about this on the podcast during the season. That's where I think the value is for these quarterbacks, right? If you can get a pretty good quarterback, maybe 10 to 20 quarterback for $20 to $30 million. And that's going to win you games. They're not going to lose you games. Maybe they're an elite game manager, but you can afford to put the surrounding cast together, build on that. Even Tom Brady was kind of fell in that tier when he was playing towards the end. So I feel like a guy like Brissett, just shut up, be grateful you're getting a chance to start on a team that has insanely low expectations. You know what I mean? Like, everyone is so out on the Cardinals. You get all the, like, Chris Carter, all these takes are coming in. This is a completely dysfunctional organization. Built a game and thought they had a good draft, or, they drafted the running back out of Notre Dame with the 4th overall pick, and he's getting the most guaranteed money ever by $20 million for. So it's like they're looking at this as a dumpster fire organization that's got underperforming talent. They got a terrible schedule. Jacoby Brissett, if you can do something with this hand that you're dealt, you could potentially earn your way to a big contract in the NFL. But I feel like this, and the fact that we're talking about this, and when I saw this show up on my news, I was like, this is insane how you value yourself compared to what you've actually been able to do in the league. And even being a holdout from OTAs and trying to hold the organization hostage. I think you just shut up, get out there. If you win some games, you're going to earn a good contract. And that's not, if you actually win some games and do that, people are going to be happy to pay you, $200 million over X number of years, maybe. But I think he's massively overplaying his hand. And if they cut him, I think they'd be fine.
What do you think the win total? What do you think the win total is? Guess the line for the Cardinals this year. What would you peg it at?
3.5.
Yeah, market's 4 right now.
I mean, what do they have? What do they have going for them, man? You got a diva quarterback who sucks. You got underperforming talent.
New coach, right?
Tough schedule.
That's coming from McVay.
In a really hard division.
Be helpful. Terrible division. Terrible spot. I mean, it's funny because in some ways if it wasn't Jacoby Brissett, if this was...
They have the third hardest schedule in the NFL.
If this was Jimmy Garoppolo, right? So I think Jimmy G is probably the higher end of the backup quarterbacks in the league. I'm trying to think who else would be in that
Kirk
world.
Cousins, right?
Yeah, is he a starter? Is he, if we want to put Kirk Cousins out there, sure. Then I think you could say, okay, well, if I'm the owners, one, I still got to get the revenue. I got to make sure that we sell tickets and sell games, right? Because that's a risk at this point. 2, I don't want to really win this season because we want to get a good draft position for next year. I mean, they are looking towards 2027 for sure. But the funny thing
draft a quarterback in the tank for Arch Manning campaign to replace this guy who's trying to get $250 million. Like that's how delusional Brissett is right now, not understanding how this is going to play out. Right.
The thing is, for the Cardinals organization, the ownership, it's a weird spot, right? Because you certainly don't want to pay Jacoby any money because it's not worth it. 2, it's not like even if you pay him money, he's going to sell tickets. Nobody's going to see the Cardinals for Jacoby Brissett.
And the Cardinals are definitely a fair weather franchise. Like people, if you look at them when they're having a bad year, no one's at the stadium.
Well, there's a lot to do in Arizona in the middle of October, November, December, January, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the best weather in the country.
It's a mecca. So, yeah, I mean, doesn't add up. But I don't know. I don't understand why the Cardinals are putting themselves in this position because they could have gone to the open market, and there's a few guys that are still sitting on the sidelines that you could go ahead and pick up. I mean, again, I'll go back to why would they not just try to get Mac Jones? I mean,
Mac Jones is definitely better than Jacoby Brissett.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we will see Mac Jones back as a starter in this league at some point.
And he had a good attitude when he got his chance last year. Wasn't creating drama. Like that stuff matters so much for a backup quarterback.
And if I'm the Niners, right, I would have gone ahead and said, sure, take him. Give me a 3rd rounder or something. I think Shanahan seems to like him a lot, but the reality is, how much is that going to move your room when, for the most part, it seems like Brock Purdy is going to stay healthy this year, we think. And I don't know. It just wouldn't really. If Mac Jones is in there in the playoffs, they're going to lose, right? If any backup is going to be in there, they're going to lose. So I think the Cardinals could have done something. It seems like a dysfunctional organization. We don't talk about them a lot because they're a West Coast team, A. B, they're a kind of an expansion team that doesn't get a lot of love, not a huge fan base. I mean, it is what it is, but pretty nuts. All right, the other thing I want to talk about this week is with the schedule release, we'll talk about a few bets. But before we go into that, I want to talk about the international schedule. This is the most international games that we have ever seen. There's rumors from a lot of the talking heads this week that we are going to start seeing every single week in 2027 in international games. So week 1 through week 17.
Mm.
They're kicking it off in Australia with Niners Rams. We knew that that was going to happen. The weird thing for us is it's going to be a 10:30 local time, Eastern time game on Friday
What
of
the heck?
opening week. I mean, very, very odd. So I don't know, man. I hate this. I think it's the dumbest thing in the world. I think the whole idea that we're doing international games, it's going to ultimately weaken the product from my view. And I just don't understand how there can be that much zeitgeist across international markets for American football. The rest of the world is soccer, it's cricket, it's the Olympics, right? I don't understand this. So Goodell has these giant, dreams of dominating the world stage with American football. I don't think it's going to happen, but the reality is who's getting screwed here is the teams and the players. I mean, we've got 11 games this year. Again, it's the most that's ever happened. So the schedule is going to be Australia week 1, week 4 they go to Rio, which they've done Brazil before,
dude,
not
Australia
Rio.
is just wild because
It's so far.
I mean, dude, that is so far away. And like, it's one thing to go to Mexico. It's one thing to even go to London. But even Rio, those are long flights, but they're in kind of the same time zones.
Yeah.
Dude, going to Australia is insane for a game. That's
Insane.
I mean, what's that, like an 18-hour flight? I mean, that's crazy.
Sorry, I wanna bring back I want to correct a mistake that I made earlier. It's going to be local time there in Australia, 10:30 a.m. So they're going to be playing body clock,
which is
theory.
Saturday midday. Like, what's that?
It's the Thursday night opening game for us at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday. It's going to be Friday 10:30 a.m. their time. So it's going to be daylight out. I mean, you think McVay goes a week early? I could see them going a week early.
You have to. I mean, it's your season opener. It's a 16-hour flight from LAX.
And so the body clock adjustment on this, we talk about that a lot.
It's as extreme as you can have from a time zone adjustment. You're literally flipping
the other side of the world.
You're literally
14-hour difference,
your entire clock,
right?
It's flipping insane. Your entire day. Yeah.
So
maybe like 2 weeks, man. Maybe you give it 2 weeks. Like, I don't know what else you're gonna do.
But they can't possibly go for 2 weeks. I mean, a week is probably the most that they could possibly do. I think they'll end up doing 3 or 4 days. I just don't know how you could do any more than a week. I don't know how you could do any more than 5 days.
Dude, you always love to bet the team that is like, because a lot of these guys that go to Europe, they'll be there for 2 weeks. One team will be there for 2 weeks, right?
The Jags do, and that's going to be a pick that we're going to talk about. Why don't we go right there? So, first pick on the pod for me. Again, what I'm looking at this point in the year is it's highly situational, travel dependent spots and just trends from the previous years. And so there's going to be 2 best bets on this pod. Here's number 1. Jags plus 1.5 week 7. It is their second week in London, and they are going to be playing that at Tottenham. And that is going to be, they're going to be playing that at Wembley. Excuse me. It's the Texans are being hosted by Jacksonville Jaguars in London. Jags are there again. This is week 7. It's their second week that they're going to be there. I don't understand this line at all. The Jags will have been there for a week and a half at that point, and the Jags are catching points. They're the dog in this situation. Makes 0 sense to me. Explain this line to me. This should be Jags minus 2.5 all day, in my opinion.
Yeah. You love this line, dude. You love this line.
I love this line. I mean, and this line is going to move. Jags will be favored by the time that this reopens, and this line will reopen. We'll see it come back up the beginning of the season, and then it'll go dark, and then it'll be back up the week before. So I would bet it now. I mean, I think this line closes. I could see this line closing Jags minus 3. Truly could. I think these are equal teams.
Just from the time zone, like the adjustments.
Well, I'll just give you my I'll go through the full handicap here. I have them as equal teams in my power ratings going into the season. I like both quarterbacks. I like both coaches. I have a spot where the Jags go and play in London every single year. They stay there for 2 weeks. They always perform better in the second week, and they typically just win outright that game. The history on that is the past 5-6 years that they've done this. They've won that second game, and I don't understand how I've got a team from the Texans traveling from Houston all the way to London, which is a long flight. That's a 9-10 hour flight.
Yeah.
And they're going to come in 2 days before. And I've got the Jags that have been sitting there in London for the past week or week and a half. And
yeah.
I'm in a really good spot with this line. So give me as much as I possibly can get Jags at any plus number, and I'd like the money line as well. So I mean, going through the rest of the international games. So we got Australia week 1, week 4 we go to Rio. Then we kind of have the London tour. So you've got the Colts are playing the Commanders week 5 in London. Then we've got the 2 Jags games in London. They're going to play the Eagles first, and then the Houston Texans second. We go to week 8. We're playing the first game in Paris. I think that'll be cool. I don't know where they're playing it. What is it? It's Stade de France. I don't know what that is. Yeah. Probably a soccer stadium. And so that's going to be Steelers Saints week 9. We're going to Madrid. And I think they did Madrid last year, right? I think it was the first year they did Madrid. Seemed like that was a good response. Then the Pats go to Munich playing the Lions. That'll be an interesting game.
Germany, I could see Germany becoming a football kind of country, right? There's a lot of similarities.
Yeah. And then the Niners have to do 2 international games as well. They go back down to Mexico City on week 11 playing the Vikings. So I'm sure Shanahan's pretty pissed
compared to their Melbourne game. That's a divisional game for them.
Yeah, and there's a lot of Niners support in Mexico City. Most of Mexico City is 49ers fans, so not a huge thing. But the elevation in Mexico City is a gauntlet that you got to run. I mean, that's worse than playing at Mile High. It's
a Mile High.
It's crazy.
7,000 feet probably.
I don't know. International games. I don't know. What's your view on the international push that's happening from the NFL? I've been clear. I don't like it.
I like it.
Why?
I think it's really are they growing the game? I don't know. I think there are a ton of, if I were to look at the ticket sales from those games, particularly, I mean, maybe even the Australian ones too. I think it's
they sell them out.
They sell them out. I think there's a ton of expats that live there or in the region that love going to a game. And I think it's a big event. I also agree that I don't have a great feel for so I have a cousin that played he played NFL Europe for 10 years in Prague. And that's kind of before the NFL was coming over there. That was like the big league in that part of Europe. But it was never it's like minor league baseball essentially. It's a feeder league. It's CFL, probably not as popular. So that's my proxy for it. And it didn't seem like you're getting groundswell support there, but I don't really know the downside for them to put a foothold in these new markets. They already don't care about how far players have to travel and the Thursday night schedules and player safety implications and stuff like that, I think are an afterthought when it comes to these kind of initiatives for Goodell. So it's probably fun for their families too, getting to go to Paris or Madrid and get to have a little international flavor on the schedule too for a lot of these teams. And I know a lot of people do travel with the team and make it we know the McQuains in Jacksonville have gone to that London game the last few years. So for the diehard fans, it's a good excuse to go to Europe for a week and anchor it around that game. I see the benefit.
Where does it end? But what is the
Australia is too far, dude.
Here?
Australia is too far.
They're talking about Japan in 2027.
Japan, Australia, I'm Dubai. That is, I think you're insane if you're going to put people putting someone on a 14-hour flight to play a game. I don't know how this is structured around their bye week, whatever, but that is just insane logistically to do that. I'm trying to think what other sport in the world is shipping folks around. Maybe you get the DP World Tour or Live Golf, but their schedule is so spread out. I don't think it's that big of a deal for them.
Well, it's
For
also
these
what
guys,
you're bringing clubs, caddies. I mean, we're talking about you got to move the
a
equivalent
whole
of
a
a whole
company.
building.
Yeah. Yes. I think I totally get Europe. I totally get Mexico City. Um, these kind of expat hubs that are close enough. If you're gonna have a West Coast team fly to New England, I don't really see the difference between a New England team flying to Madrid. But dude, these 15-hour flights, you got to adjust to 12-hour time zones. That's where I think I probably draw the line in terms of just logistically how insane that is to put these players on a 2 or 3 week window where their bodies will never know what time it is. I just think the safety and logistics concerns outweigh whatever commercial lift they're going to get from that exposure.
So here's the downside from my perspective, as far as even just what they're doing this year, what they've done the past couple of years. I think one, it dilutes the main slate schedule on these weeks. So it's going to dilute the television product that you would normally be getting. Some of these games, which are all
Why?
pretty good games,
It's
right?
like it gives
Because,
you a 10 a.m. kickoff. Like what is on Sunday? Why is that diluting anything?
well, it gives you an 8 a.m. kickoff or 9:30,
Yeah,
for the
I'm East
Eastern time.
Coast.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So 10 a.m.
that's
Uh,
that's great.
because you're taking one game out of the early slate or the late slate in the main slates of the NFL on Sundays, and these are pretty good games that they're moving overseas. So I no longer have that. It's going to
You're
be
kind of
part
are
of
you
the
not
main
just
red zone
getting
slate.
because then you basically have your Sunday night football game, and then you've got your Sunday morning football game, and you still got your red zone window. I feel like that second window, the afternoon window for red zone, already feels a little chaotic. I don't think you're losing that much in the middle slot if that's where it's getting pulled from, as opposed to getting an extra game that you can flip on Sunday morning.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I think your red zone product is
You
inherently
got
going down with
you got an
this.
8 box. You got an 8 box in the mid slot on Sunday, and you're saying that's a good experience?
Look, man, I can only get stimulated by having at least 9 boxes, In the main slate on a Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, I need the
Yeah,
full 9
you need to
games
pull that.
to
Okay,
really get
if
there.
you that's
I've
that's
got,
on us. That's on you.
20 bets flying around. I am trying to track it with Scott Hansen. He's trying to keep me up to date on what's going on. And
Yeah,
how's he
yeah.
going to do that if he doesn't have that 9th game to be able to cover in the main slate? I don't really
You
understand.
make
So
I see the point. I see the point. That makes
the
I
other
got
thing
it.
that this
I got it.
does, and this might be a NFL hardo comment that I'm about to make here, but it's something that is very true for me. One of the things that I love in my kind of prepping for the Sunday main slate schedule every week is I turn on the Fox pregame shows. And I like having the pregame shows in the background. Maybe I'm getting my workout in. I'm listening to, Schrager kind of give some intel as far as what's going to happen. And I got Carissa kind of game management, doing some player interviews, kind of getting me revved up for the day. And maybe
Ryan, are
I'm
you
making a
telling
little,
me
little
are
bit of
you
food. I don't know. But
Ryan,
the reality
are
is,
you telling me that you can't feel anything unless you got 9 boxes on the 1 o'clock slot? But God forbid you got 2 boxes at the 11 a.m. slot, and now that's you can
how
only do
can
it
I
with one
watch it?
screen.
I can't watch.
And you
It's
can only
not
one
2
screen.
games.
You
It's
got
not 2 games.
your
I got a
audio. You got
pregame
your audio in the
show,
left
and
box.
then I've
You got
got
the pre.
and then I've got
You
to
got the
watch.
audio
I
though.
got to
You got a
keep an
little extra over
eye.
there. Yeah,
I don't
that's
want to have
easy,
to
dude.
keep an eye on the BS
You need two
London
screens.
game.
You don't need 9 screens. You don't need a 9 box. You just got 2 screens. You got an
No,
audio
because
feed
I got
and
to
you got a
have the
video feed.
sound on for the pregame show to understand what's going on. But I'm still trying to pay attention because I likely have a bet because I bet most of these international games because I think there's an easier way to get at them because of the spots for these guys. And so I got to watch that game, but I want to be able to watch my full pregame show on Fox. And, if Terry's shouting about something, I want to be able to hear it. I want to see what's going on. Maybe he's yelling at Howie about something that happened at home. I don't know. It's important to me and it kind of messes with my schedule. So I think it overall dilutes the product for the NFL. Maybe that's just me. I don't know.
It's definitely obviously this is not just a you thing. This is probably
I think
everyone's.
look, I represent middle America. I love Bud Light and I love the
Uh,
NFL. And I think that most Americans feel the way that I do, kind of
well,
like
Ryan, that's your truth, and I'm not going to take it from
feeling the
you.
winds.
I'm not going to
All
take
right.
that truth away from you. Oh my
We'll
God.
get to wrap wrapping it up here, and we'll move over to some PGA Championship
Oh.
review talk. But what I want to cover second is second best bet of the week. I love this pick. I've got this is week 1, so the way that this works, maybe just take a step back. A lot of lines are published as of right now when the schedule gets released, right? So we had the season schedule release last week. The books go and they open up 2 things. They open up the week 1 schedule, so we get the full slate that you can bet on, opening lines. And then 2, you have game of the years. So, for example, my first pick, just to review that, Jags week 7 plus 1.5 in London hosting the Texans. That is a game of the year that they post. They'll post the international games a lot of the time. The big matchups, when the Chiefs play the Bills, you'll see that, in week 11 that's run out there. So they will kind of pick and choose where they want to, post these. But the full week 1 slate is up, ready to bet. So for me, this is the Tampa Bay Bucks at the Bengals. The Bucks are getting 3.5 points at the Bengals. I love and bet the Tampa Bay Buccaneers plus 3.5 at the Bengals. The Bengals are an interesting team this year. They are poised to run the table, win the division. They have everything going for them, but they often come out slow. Burrow, for whatever reason, in the first couple weeks of the season, just hasn't quite gotten the reps together. It seems like he needs a mental reset into every single season. They went 2-0 last year, but if you look back the past 5 years since Burrow's been there, he has lost the first 2, 3, 4 games of basically every single season that he's been there. I expect that trend to come back. And so I like Bucks money line at plus 250. I love the Bucks getting above the key number at plus 3.5 at the Bengals. I know that they're on the road. I make these pretty even teams overall. I have a coaching edge with Todd Bowles. I have pretty even quarterbacks. I mean, probably the edge to Burrow, but I think at this point in the season, it's probably pretty even quarterbacks between Baker. He's going to be ready to go week 1. And this line makes 0 sense to me. I could see this line being 2.5 favored at the Bengals because they're home, but 3.5 above the key number makes 0 sense to me. So that's second best bet going into the season. And I think throughout the summer, we'll keep throwing out some of the best bets. We'll do some team totals and that sort of thing. But these were the 2 because I wanted to drill it down for a short pod this week that I really loved and bet this week. What says you?
I feel like I'm a procrastinator. I am not going to. It's too early for me, dude. There's too much shit that can happen. Off-season stuff. You could have 15 more Rashee Rice arrests. It's like me betting on golf, dude. Like I want to bet on Thursday. I want to bet before they tee off, but I know all the action happens like a day before. So I don't know, man. I'm not gonna fall in love with any lines until probably September.
You're gonna
me.
pass on this. I would encourage you to take that Jags line until it.
I think I will take the Jags line because I think that is just a insane spread. And you've been right about some of these like longer term bets with like your read on the initial lines. I feel like you get a lot of alpha from betting early when lines are released during the season, especially now since there's still a lot of information risk. I feel like there can be some of these huge just misses in the early lines. So I think I will roll with you on the Jags bet. Everything else I feel like I need to see some OTA. I need to get a little hard knocks in me before I start really calibrating my feels for 2026.
Now, obviously, the thing that can happen to me when you bet this early and, you're limited pretty heavily by the books as far as what you can get down this early in the season, but it helps you in some ways because the reality is, let's say that Trevor Lawrence gets hurt, week 4 and he's out for this game, then my bet's screwed, right? So
That's what I'm saying.
There's definitely I'm taking a risk. I have that built in, but the reality is I think I still, all things being equal, I feel very good about my edge going into, betting this early. This, mid-May that we are talking through this. All right, dude, let's move over to a little bit of golf. We had PGA Championship. I want to start with the winner, Aaron Rai. I forgot to bring my rain gloves for this pod. I was gonna throw on the rain gloves and give Aaron Rai a little bit of his flowers. I thought let's start with Aaron Rai. Let's start with the double gloves. The thread was popping off. Our normal fantasy football thread was popping off this week with the double gloves talk. There were a couple guys in the thread that didn't realize double gloves was even a thing. I have been a double gloves guy for, I think, 5 years now, and not just in the rain. And here's my theory on the double gloves. When I am in a bad mental state in my golf game, it can be 90 degrees out, bright and sunny, not a cloud in the sky. There are a couple things that I'm going to do. One, I have the option to start drinking if I have not already started drinking. Two, I can move straight to away from the mini driver and just start teeing up the driving iron off the tee. And three, I put the double gloves on. What I found with the double gloves is that it relaxes my grip, and so I swing a little bit easier. And so I'm a big double gloves guy, not just for the rain, but I really like them if I just need a new swing thought and I'm just trying to get out of my head.
I did not know that about you. Obviously, the slander that everyone was saying about double gloves during rain was just insane. People don't know ball, right? If you don't have rain gear, you're a noob. So that was an insane line of retorts.
A lot of insane comments.
But I've never used the double gloves when I've been in a slump. I swing harder when things are going. Where I try to speed up everything. Don't move my hips, and I just try to swing as fast as I can if I'm trying to work through something.
Some people try to work their swing out in a myriad of different ways. Who's to say who's going to be correct here? But it is what it is. And then the other thing here is he was using this weird orange tee, which I guess he uses all the time. It looks like an old man.
Yeah, it's like a training tee. Yeah,
training tee.
Yeah,
which I didn't even know was legal on the PGA.
I need to use one, dude.
I don't love that.
I don't.
That's where I draw the line. Double gloves.
I don't get it.
You can iron covers, whatever you got to do,
Dude,
but
I don't know.
I don't really understand that.
If you are trying to get if the goal is to make sure that your tee, you're hitting the face on the exact same time every drive, I don't get why it's a big deal to use an aid that literally stops the tee in the ground. That makes sense. I feel like I probably have like a centimeter dispersion just from based on how many Michelob Ultras I've had in terms of where the tee hits. I'm probably skying a ball. I'm probably driving one to the ground just because my tee's in the wrong place. For if you got, $3 million on the line, I don't hate that. The other stuff though, like Aaron Rai, I'm happy for Aaron Rai. I think
we're all happy for Aaron Rai.
Everyone's
Nobody
happy for
is
Aaron
mad
Rai.
about this.
I am mad. I feel like my entire betting system on golf, which I feel like was a can't lose moneymaker in 2025, is getting destroyed this year. Yeah. Which that theory was if you got, and this was a perfect example because you did have such a clumped leaderboard where the cream will rise, the Aaron Rais of the world will just crumble under pressure. And Jon Rahm, like I put most of my money on Jon Rahm on Sunday.
Yep,
I was, and then I was betting Cam Smith. I was betting, kind of like these other guys that have been there before, major championship, the Brooks Koepka quote, which I feel like has been like a pretty reliable moneymaker when you've got, back nine on Sunday starts to turn around. And
yeah,
I feel like JJ Spawn destroyed that for me last year at the US Open. And Rai, dude, gaining 6 shots on the field on the last 10 holes when you've never been there before is truly, I think it's the run that he went on. I don't know if he'll ever get his flowers for this other stuff, but that is an unfathomable finish of just the biggest nuts ever, executing every single shot. Dude, the sand shot on 13 or 15, these approach shots from 200 yards where he naturally is a drawer of the ball and he has to hit the perfect cut. I was just waiting for him to just choke it away. And he's just nailing every single one of these shots, hitting all these impossible to hit fairways, executing all the turns. He literally went out there and just took it. And it is really cool in the era of big money, big players. You have the condensed field, obviously, with all these tournaments. To see a guy, that's what's really cool about golf is
a parity is still real in the PGA.
Dude, the 110th player in the world in the FedEx Cup, whatever, can just play the 9 holes of his life and run away with a major championship. That is what's a really cool thing about golf. So I did get financially destroyed on Sunday, but I still, felt the feels of being happy to see a guy like that, changed their life playing that way. You have to be a little romantic about golf, even if your butts are getting destroyed. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, dude. And we haven't seen this since JJ Spawn last year at the US Open. I mean,
Yeah.
he played a perfect 9 holes on the backside, and it was
Totally. Same thing.
It was
drained a giant
really
putt to
good.
basically, yeah, you're like, good for them,
Yeah,
man.
the putt on 17 was unbelievable.
And then, I mean, and Spawn had that insane putt, I think, on 18, right? It's just like,
Yeah.
if you play golf, if you've ever been there, you've made that putt on me before, so I know that you've been there. But like, being able to make that kind of putt with all that riding on it is just, that's got to be the best feeling that he'll ever feel in his life. So you're happy for those guys.
Yeah, it was good. I thought the course was good as well. I was a little bit scared going into the week on the course setup since we didn't have so much of a feel on it, and I loved that the guys were complaining about how hard it was, and that
next
that
podcast,
makes me happy.
I think we can talk about the identity crisis for the PGA in the next time we get together, potentially, if we want to hit it again. Because I know we got to wrap it up now. But I do think like it was they set up that course in a way that was like super fun to watch.
Yeah, that was great. All right, guys, short episode this week. Thanks for joining, and we'll be back at it. We'll sprinkle in some shows throughout the summer leading up to NFL season, and NFL season is going to be here before we know it. We're like 3 months away. It's pretty great. All right, dudes.
See you, buddy.
Bye.